Chris, when you look at this roster, as we are past Christmas, approaching New Year, kind of the middle of the NBA season coming up, what do you see from it? Normally, you ideally think if you have a big three, the quote-unquote big three, you're in pretty good shape. You could make a case that the Cavs have put together a big four, if you will. You've got Garland, Mitchell, Allen, Mobley, and I'm leaving guys out still.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the year, Dave, the Cavs were one of two teams in the NBA that had 3 All-Stars on their roster. Golden State was the other one, and Golden State's the reigning NBA champions. So that tells you all you need to know about the upper echelon talent that the Cavs have, and that doesn't even include second-year phenom Evan Mobley, who many people inside the organization and around the NBA believe one day is going to be the most talented and best and most important player that the Cavs have in this organization. In fact, one assistant coach, Greg Buckner, told me before the season even started, if we're going to hang another banner, Evan Mobley needs to be our LeBron James. It can't be Darius Garland's team. It can't be Donovan Mitchell's team. It can't be Jarrett Allen's team. If we're going to hang another championship banner, it needs to eventually be Evan Mobley's team. He's the one who's going to have to be the most important guy for us into the future. That's obviously not right now, but that tells you all you need to know about the talent level on this team. Look, there are holes on this roster. There's no doubt about it. JB Bickerstaff only plays 8-9 guys most nights, so they're not the deepest team in the NBA. And that wing spot, the small forward spot, continues to be a problem. This is a league about two-way wings. Those are the guys that shift playoff series. Those are the guys that typically lead teams to championships. And that's the biggest weakness that the Cavs have. So if you want to poke holes in this roster and start nitpicking, you would start there at the starting small forward spot.
Okay, having said that, though, what about the talent? It wasn't too long ago where people were calling, wow, did Koby Altman make the right choice with this guy? Did Koby Altman, Colin Sexton? And there was a good job of identifying talent relative to where you were picking. You'd have to agree with that.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think if you can go back to 2018, 2019, 2020, all those different drafts, right? And you just say, honestly, based on where the Cavs were, what they needed, and what they already had on the roster, who would you rather have instead of Colin Sexton, right? Who would you rather have instead of Darius Garland? So if you looked at it that kind of way, you would see that Koby Altman made the best pick at the position where he was drafting. The one that stands out, obviously, is Isaac Okoro in 2020. People will talk about Tyrese Halliburton. They'll talk about some of these other guys that were drafted after Isaac, maybe even Denny Avdia of the Washington Wizards. But for the most part, based on where the Cavs were picking, despite the fact that they didn't have a ton of lottery luck early on in this rebuild, they hit those picks. And part of the reason why they were able to get somebody like Donovan Mitchell is because they hit on Ochai Agbaji. That was somebody that appealed to the Utah Jazz. Part of the reason why they were able to get somebody like Donovan Mitchell is because they hit on Colin Sexton, and Colin Sexton became an asset that the Jazz wanted, and because they were able to acquire Lauri Markkanen and sign and trade for Larry Nance Jr. So I've been somebody who has backed Koby Altman for a very, very long time, because I think early on in a rebuild, Dave, you have to look at it and you have to evaluate it independent of the end result. Because an end result in the NBA, a win-loss record in the NBA, is the totality of what you have. It's you against the other teams that you're playing against. And the Cavs weren't ready for that level of evaluation early on in the rebuild. They weren't ready to be judged simply by wins and losses. It was about the individual moves that allowed them to get to this point where they are. And you see, based on where they are right now, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, one of the best teams in the NBA, a legitimate title contender. Those moves that the Cavs made early on in the rebuild, while they didn't add up to wins then, are adding up to them now because they've grown into that.
Well, the one move you didn't mention was maybe the most impressive, is finding a way to get Jarrett Allen.
Yeah. Dave, there are people inside this organization that believe their rebuild started to shift when they acquired Jarrett Allen. Like, that was the move that sent them on this upward trajectory. And look, like, there are layers to the Jarrett Allen move. If you start doing the 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever you want to do with that, right? Because the Cavs, in that same Jarrett Allen deal, Dave, they acquired Taurean Prince, and they flipped Taurean Prince for Ricky Rubio, and they flipped Ricky Rubio for Karis LeVert, and then got Ricky Rubio back. So when you start looking at it that kind of way, and all the dominoes that came after it, that's the thing. In the NBA, Dave, trades, they're chess moves. It's not about the move that you make. It's about the other moves that come from that. You can go back to the Kyrie Irving blockbuster and the way that that's impacted this organization and where they are right now. It's a chess move. And if you look at it that kind of way, you can see the plan come into focus, and you can see the other moves that the Cavs have benefited from after that.